I now recognize Ms. Green from Georgia for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Walensky, you're coming to the end of your tenure as the CDC director, which you started in January of 2021. And we heard you say today that the COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. But what I'd like to talk to you today about is the 1.5 million VAERS reports that also reported 35,000 deaths associated with the COVID-19 vaccine. And this has been what many Americans feel like a largely ignored issue. They feel like the CDC has completely ignored the reports. They feel like you, as the CDC director, have completely ignored their reports. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit. In 2020, it was late 2020 when Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine was approved, and there were COVID-19 vaccines were the second highest reported. That was over 10,000. But in 2021, when vaccines were mandated, it was a federal mandate in September 9th of 2021. Federal employees and contractors were required. 90% of the 3.5 million people employed or contracted under the federal government got at least one dose of the vaccine. Vaccine cards were widely required in Democrat-run cities all over the country, basically to become a member of society. And in 2021, COVID-19 reports skyrocketed to number one at 728,829 reports. Second was the Zoster shingles vaccine at just over 14,000. That's a massive number, and the numbers kept growing and growing and growing on the VAERS report. I'd also like to talk to you about how much money the American taxpayers were forced to pay Pfizer and Moderna for vaccines. The government paid Pfizer and Moderna in 2020, 2021, and 2022. Pfizer received $15.27 billion. Moderna received $9.99 billion, and boy, did they get a return on the American taxpayers' investment. Because Pfizer, amazingly, in 2022, got a 23% increase. But in 2021, they doubled their income at a 95% increase in revenue. That's absolutely impressive thanks to the American people. But it was Moderna's whose numbers were astounding. Moderna increased their revenue in 2020, had a 1,238% increase in revenue. In 2021, they got a 2,200% increase in revenue, thanks to the American taxpayer, where money got funded into these big pharmaceutical companies for these vaccines. It's quite impressive, though, that Pfizer worldwide went from at $190 billion right there towards the beginning of 2021 and skyrocketed at the end of 2021 to $330 billion worldwide. That's quite impressive thanks to the American taxpayer and thanks to the CDC director, Dr. Walensky, who said that vaccines were safe and effective. I'd also like to talk to you on behalf of all the pregnant women, not people, as you call them. To quote you on August 11th, 2021, CDC encourages all pregnant people, it's women by the way, who are thinking about becoming pregnant and those breastfeeding to get vaccinated to protect themselves from COVID-19. This has also been ignored. The amount of miscarriages and stillbirths that increased drastically due to your advice to get vaccinated. Pregnant women again, not people. And then we could go on and on about the tragic stories of myocarditis and many other things. But my question for you today, Dr. Walensky, is now that you're going to be leaving the CDC pretty soon, what job are you going to take? Are you going to be on the board of either Pfizer or Moderna? Because you've done one hell of a job in making sure that they've made a lot of money. And I yield back.
Thank you for that question. Maybe first I will comment that CDC is not responsible for the purchase of vaccines, so I can't speak to all of the economics that you spoke to. I do want to talk a minute about the vaccine adverse event reporting system. So that system is intended for any person who has gotten a vaccine, if they have an untoward event after that vaccine, whether or not it's related to the vaccine, they report. It is intended to have an over-reporting. All of the not all, most of the vaccines that were being given, remember we gave 676 million doses of the vaccine. Any adverse event, if you got hit by a truck after you got your vaccine, that was reported to the vaccine adverse event reporting system. We at CDC have a responsibility to comb through every single one of them, to review the medical charts and to see if they are related. It is the case that the vaccine doesn't prevent being
Ms.
hit.
Walensky, I'll reclaim my time. You did nothing about that and continue to push vaccines. That's what the American people care about.
We review all of the things that come into the vaccine adverse event reporting system. I'd be happy to have our staff educate your staff on the.
I don't want my staff educated. You should educate the American people about what you've done of 1.5 million reports, because they feel like you've done nothing and continue to say safe and effective.
Maybe I will just close by saying I don't have plans after I step down. Thank you.
I now recognize Ms. Takuda from